Hello everyone, my name is Abby Urban, and today I have the honor and privilege of interviewing Father Pete. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me, Abby. It's really exciting.
Oh, fantastic. We are so happy to have you and to start doing this interview series with NDTV. So just starting right off, Father Pete, we all know you from the videos at the football games. We see you around campus, giving all-school mass with the basketball team. But could you tell us a little bit more about what your roles are here at Notre Dame and kind of what a typical day would look like for you?
Yes. The fun part about this, Abby, is that my principal responsibilities, I serve as the director of campus ministry. And as the director of campus ministry, it really is my responsibility to think about faith on campus. But let's be really clear. I don't do this by myself. I've got a big team and a variety of folks who are helping me along the way. And so what does it mean to think about faith? The whole objective here really is it's kind of like try to meet students exactly where they find themselves. But interestingly enough, campus ministry isn't just focused on students, although that's the primary area. We also have folks who are working with our staff and also our faculty to be able to help allow for Notre Dame to be a place where faith is explored, from the very beginning to perhaps someone who says, you know what, I want to make a career of this place.
Right,
and that's the goal. So really, for me then, what does my day look like? What I love most about my day is that each day is a little bit unique and different. And so on one hand, I might be chatting with you. On another, I might be going to hear confessions at the Basilica. On another, I might be celebrating Mass with the basketball team, which is one of my roles as chaplain. So it really is someone like me who enjoys having a little variety in his day-to-day existence. This is certainly that. Every day I kind of wake up and I'm like, well, let's just kind of see where it takes me.
I love that. That's fantastic. All that different variety. So out of all that variety,
Yep.
Do you have a particular experience, it could be faith-related or not faith-related, that has been your favorite time here at Notre Dame?
Yeah, there are so many, Abby, on this. The principal area that I think I've most benefited from, and I want to be really clear about this, because I could get into the particulars of the cool things that I've been able to do, and there have been many. But really, genuinely, it's kind of getting to know students throughout the course of year over year. I've had the benefit of being on campus in a variety of roles since '06, which is crazy for me to think about, which also means that I'm getting really old. But anyways,
oh, no.
But anyways, the point is like each year, meeting new students who arrive, getting to know students more deeply that have returned, and then now seeing students who come back as alums. It's just awesome, and I genuinely love it. So, I mean, I could talk about being on the court for the 2015 ACC Championship.
Amazing, so
I could
cool.
talk about these different moments. I got to introduce one of the bands from last year, Felix Urbito, and lead a prayer, and then and be a part of that over at Legends, which was just awesome. But really, genuinely, it all starts with relationships and getting to know students, and that to me is why I continue to enjoy and love being a priest here at Notre Dame, and it really does mean a whole heck of a lot to me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I feel like that community aspect and your role in building that is so integral to this community here at Notre Dame. So that's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love that. So then moving into a little bit more for all of our students watching. So I wanted to ask you how you think students who are really busy, especially in this time when we know everybody has midterms and everybody is really busy, can find little ways to incorporate faith into their lives, maybe even for students who aren't super faith oriented.
Yeah, I think that it starts with two kind of dispositions in my mind. The first is that we all have time. The simple fact is that, even taking a moment to step back, even if it's 5 minutes, right? We all can find that in our schedule. And then the second point I think is important to note here is that all of us benefit from being able to recognize that our own world is not the total embodiment of the broader reality that we face. And I think sometimes we can get caught up in, I've got this exam, or this relationship isn't going well, or I feel this particular pressure. And the scary thing about that is that the world gets really, really, really small. And so the benefit of faith, in my estimation, is by its very definition, it asks of us to think about a world that's outside of our own. So taking a minute to step back and knowing that we can, right? And then second, knowing that it actually benefits us as human beings to be able to think about the needs of others, to think about the world. And so then that, in my mind, is where faith comes in, right? Because faith ultimately, in many ways, invites us to think about elements that are fundamentally human. So whether this be hope, trust, forgiveness, these are themes that are so very important for us on a day-to-day basis to reflect upon. And this is where faith is rich with themes that remind us that all of these values are so very important. And so in my mind, yes, I'm not denying or refuting the fact that folks are busy. But I would say we have to be careful about what we get busy about. And if it's causing our world to get smaller and smaller and smaller, maybe it's an opportunity for us to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to step back. And not only maybe, but I should. And I have the time to do so, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes. And then what do I want to fill that time with? Is it Instagram? Is it some social media? Or is it, maybe I should spend time thinking a little bit about some of these deeper values of truth, of love, of forgiveness. I would like to propose at least that practice has a way of kind of carrying over in our day-to-day life in real meaningful ways.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I think that that's a really good point. I know people
coming down, instead of just passing by, what would it look like to actually stop and thank God for the gift of that sunset? I think if we can cultivate ways, either formal, meaning officially like in the church and going to mass and having confession heard, or stopping by the basilica or the grotto for a formal prayer, what does it also look like to cultivate habits where we begin to be grateful for the gifts that we receive, whether that be time that we spend with a friend or a beautiful sunset or the opportunity to study. I think that these are all gifts, and so whether that be formal or whether that be a little bit more casual, there's really great opportunities. God is constantly at work, and God's constantly at play, and if we can believe that and lean into that a little bit, there's something pretty cool about that.
Oh, I love that. That is fantastic, because it's like you don't have to, you can just appreciate your everyday experiences a little bit more and
That's
maybe
right.
not even have to add so much into that.
That's exactly right.
I love that. That's wonderful. So then, of course, we're talking a lot about faith, but
Yep.
what about people who maybe are involved in their faith here at Notre Dame, who are taking advantage of these wonderful opportunities that we do have on campus and want to know how to extend that past college when
Yep.
maybe we're not in such an uber Catholic environment? What would be your suggestions?
Yeah, you know what? I think that I'm a big believer that practice and habit lead to value. What do I mean by this? The more we practice something, the more we begin to see its value and its merit. But we as human beings also, interestingly enough, have a way to rationalize our way out of sometimes things that are worthwhile. So let me give you an example. It is beneficial to study for that big exam. But it's like, do I really need to? Or maybe I can just cram a little bit. Or maybe I know I want to run that 10K, but I don't want to spend as much time doing it. And as a result, maybe I can just half the time that it would take to do the 10K. The point is that yes, there are moments in which we can try to rationalize our way out of these things of value and say to ourselves, you know what, I'll get to faith when I'm an adult, when I'm outside of Notre Dame. But I would say to you, here is the perfect place to practice. You know, begin to take ownership of your faith in meaningful ways. Begin to develop those habits that lead to values. And from those values, I think they typically carry you over even when you get to an environment that may be completely unfamiliar. Right. Newsflash, not every church is going to be half mass at 10 p.m. at night with a homily targeted towards 18 to 22-year-olds. That's not going to occur.
Yes.
However, if you begin to cultivate a real love for the community, for the Eucharist, for spending time meditating upon these values that we were talking about earlier, I think there's something really cool about that. And again, this is where Notre Dame can cultivate these habits so that we can live into these values later.
Fantastic. Again, I totally agree with that. I think this is the perfect place, and we do have all of these opportunities. And yeah, I hope, especially in my own faith life, to continue it and build upon all the wonderful things here. Like getting to hear you at Mass, like this past weekend, that was great at the Basilica. That's wonderful, and it is nice to have homilies that are, are specific to us here. But I think that gives us appreciation for more homilies in other places as we go forward to different churches as well. Amazing. Well, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to ask you about today. So thank you so much, Father Pete, for being here and for giving us a little bit of a look into your role here at Notre Dame, a little bit more specifically, and for helping us to learn how to cultivate our faith here. So thank you again so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.